Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. Well, y'all know that usually when I have an interview, in the recent past, it has been people that I work with and my colleagues at Lifetime, and I have spotlighted them and their philosophies on eating and how that might differ from what I do and what I teach. And because I know that there are so many different ways to address losing weight, there's so many different ways to have a relationship, and sometimes I think that is such an odd term sometimes when we say have a relationship. And some people are like, what do you mean by have a relationship with food? Like, what does that mean? So when I say that, just getting along with food and not being at odds with food. And so there are so many different ways of doing that. And that's really what I am always interested in, is finding out how other people are doing it and how they're coaching their clients. And that has kind of been a recent investigation for me. But today's guest is so incredibly special because Allison is joining me today, and and I'm going to be completely transparent with you all. This is the first time we've met. We had never met each other before. I would say, what was it, 4 or 5 days ago, Allison, that you reached out. So Allison reached out to me, sent me an email, and just thanked me and let me know that she was a follower of my podcast and she listened to my podcast. And I'm not going to ruin the story. I'm going to let her share the story, but I am so excited, and you all are hearing it for the first time for you, and I am hearing it for the first time for me. So this is so very exciting. She was gracious and on just honored me so much by agreeing to come on and share her story, finding my podcast and then listening and then having her own kind of going on her own food journey and the success that she has had. So without further ado, Allison, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen. Excited to be here and share my story and looking forward to chatting with you today.
Absolutely. So let's back up and let's go back to where you were and what was happening in your life when you came upon my podcast. There obviously was a reason you were looking for something for a podcast or looking for some answers. So I would just love to have you share where you were, what was happening, and how you found me.
Sure. And I mean, you'll probably hear a lot of the same themes through a lot of the podcasts, a lot of the women that you've worked with. I was just really struggling with the roller coaster of dieting and yo-yo dieting and trying to figure out why. And as you get older, I'm 48 years old, going on 49 here in a couple months. And as I progressed through aging, dieting just wasn't working. And you just kind of grew up since high school, dieting, gaining weight, and going through life cycles of just everything. And I realized something else had to be going on. Why? And then it was to where I couldn't lose the weight. Like I would diet and I wasn't losing the weight. And I was like, okay, well, what's really going on here? Why can't I do this? All those emotions that come along with that, all the sadness and the frustration and the am I just going to be this weight for the rest of my life? You know, I'm uncomfortable, I'm unhappy, I can't do the things I want to do. And so I just started like there's got to be something else. And then just the word kind of emotional eating, I kind of knew, I was an emotional eater, but didn't really know what that meant.
Mhm.
You catch yourself eating when you're bored or again, the happy emotional eating, right?
Mhm.
Going to a party, having a piece of cake with someone for a birthday or something like that. So that kind of stuff, you're like, okay, emotional eating, but getting really down to the binging. And that is really where I never admitted to anyone, let alone almost myself, the struggle I was having with dieting and restricting and then going way overboard with the binging and going back and forth. And I do have children, so I have twins, and so I was pregnant with twins, and so they're 16 now. And I never really lost the weight. Like I just, after having the kids, like I couldn't really diet, I couldn't get it back. I tried working out. I did this great group called Stroller Strides, where you run with the kids. Loved it. It was amazing. And then I had an injury, which kind of set that back. And then probably for the last 10 years, it's just been really like uncomfortable. And I really got back up there again, and I didn't know what to do. And so I'm like, okay, what's emotional eating? And then I don't even know how I came across your podcast, but I saw your name. I listened to, the first episode and I was like, this is amazing. And this was a year and a half ago. So you had already started the podcast. I was listening to it, after the fact. But this was a year and a half ago, and I kind of binged your episodes. Like I listened to probably all of up to like 120, 130,
Mhm.
like within the first 6 months or so. Like I was just really, really, really listening to it and practicing your, intuitive eating. Like what
Mhm.
is intuitive eating? And then the emotional eating side of intuitive eating. And really, so then I picked up the intuitive eating book, Kriebel, Evelyn's book. And I was kind of reading intuitive eating along with listening to your podcasts and just really, like you said, redeveloped my relationship with food and
Mhm.
why am I eating?
Mhm.
And why do I want to figure it out? Right?
Right.
What is the true long-term why of why I want to be healthy and why I want to be comfortable? And so that's really how I started. And I mean, I've lost over 50 pounds. And just, just listening to your podcast and trying to practice intuitive eating principles. I, incorporated working out again, but again, it was a savior to me. It really turned my life around the last year and a half. And that's why, again, I think the maintenance is what's where I'm at now and
Mhm.
finding struggles with the maintenance and coming back and re-listening to the podcasts, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
not hating myself when I fall back on my old habits, but doing the maintenance, and that's where I was like, I started re-listening again, and I started branching out and trying to learn more, and that's where I emailed you. It was
Mhm.
like for a year and a half, I've had you in my literally in my head, in my ear pods while I'm walking and stuff, and just wanted to thank you. So no,
Oh,
thank you.
oh, well, thank you. And it's honestly, like having you here and hearing that is really a dream come true because of my struggles and the struggles I went through, and that was exactly what I always hoped for other people. Is I hoped that other
Mhm.
people would see that there's a different way of doing things. There's a way that we don't have to be so uh, beholden to the whole and again, what you said is exactly, I mean, gosh, I feel like, we could be sisters. That it was like it was
Mhm.
the being so good and just restricting yourself and just feeling very, I know for me, I was very self-righteous, like, oh, I'm just doing so well. And then all of a sudden it would be like a cliff and I would go off the cliff, and it was like, all right, well, we got to restart again. We got to go back and do this again. And it was the doing it again that just became so demoralizing. And I was just
Yeah.
so devastated. And for me, when I realized that this was impacting my ability to interact with friends, to interact with family, to want
Mhm.
to be around people in general, because I was so embarrassed and ashamed that, like, like, people know how to eat. Why don't I know how to eat? Like, what's my problem?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so it's that type of thing. And I always vowed when I became a coach, and then I um, started working with people, I always vowed that I really would never, I never wanted anyone to struggle. I never wanted anyone to have to struggle as much as I had, because it had been such a long struggle. And and I remember saying, if I just helped one person, then that would be fine. I mean, just to know that I helped somebody make that change and that they resonated with what I talked about, that was like, there, okay, I've done my,
Mhm.
God sent me to do this, and that's what I've done. So, it could not have, it couldn't have come at any better time. So again, so I thank you so much for that. Um, in a sense of, for you, what were the elements that I talked about were that you felt that you embraced and that you felt you did really well? What aspects, that, there's a number of different things that I kind of ask people to do, and again,
Mhm.
now even more so, I now coach in a way that it is very suggested. I don't, there is no hard, because again, I don't want to be that hard and fast. Okay, if you're working with me, this is how things have to be, because everybody's so individual. And so I know
Yeah.
sometimes some pieces don't resonate with people, and that's totally okay. But I would love
Yeah.
to hear from you. What were the things that you felt really jived with you? They really resonated with you. They worked with your lifestyle, and that sort of thing.
Sure. And yeah, I get that. I mean, I'm a planner in my profession and everybody's situation's different, right? And
Mhm.
every plan is different for everyone, and how they react to different things.
Mhm.
So for me, it was first just the realization that there's other people out there that have the same feelings and the
Right.
same thoughts and the same issues. And so that sense of community, even though I didn't talk to anybody, I
Mhm.
wasn't a part of community, I felt like a part of it by just listening.
Mhm.
And so first realizing that there's other people out there struggling and that there is a solution
Mhm.
um, to this issue. And so learning that first was the first thing. And then really kind of diving into the why. That's still the ongoing struggle I have. So that's like maybe for another interview. But the deep down dive, which is what you've kind of jumped into, the
Mhm.
subconscious and like why do you go there to begin with?
Right.
That I'm still working on.
Mhm.
But the why I want to do this was the next step. Like, okay, why do I really want to focus? You know, the long-term goals of why do I want to be healthy? Why do I want to lose weight? Why do I want to maintain what I consider a healthy weight for myself?
Mhm.
And so discovering those whys, and those whys really kind of ended up taking a few different branches because it got into more longevity, health span,
Mhm.
wanting to, play baseball with the grandkids one day if I ever have grandkids, that kind of
Right.
situation. So it got into kind of discovering more about myself and what I really want out of life.
Mhm.
Um, and then obviously just losing weight. I mean, that was the reason why, right? The main immediate driver. But as far as the tools kind of that you gave me, I mean, I don't write down my meal plans. So
Mhm.
I don't, because I just don't take the time to do that. But I do meal plan. I mean, I do, during the weekends, I go shopping. I do spend time and money on nutritious foods because I've learned through my food discovery,
Mhm.
which I did, which I don't restrict what I eat. I
Mhm.
eat what I feel was healthy for me that I enjoy.
Mhm.
Like used to be like if I were on a diet, I can't have cheese. Cheese is an
Right.
absolute no on a diet. Like no
Right.
way can I have cheese, any fat, right? High
Right.
school was fat-free diets, right? I
Oh yeah.
ate white bread and apples. Like that was,
Yeah.
and well, we were joking about Olestra the other day, the
Oh.
fat-free
Oh.
Doritos
Oh.
they came out with at one point, right? So
Absolutely.
getting away from all of that and just focusing on true nutrition, I realized I love nutritious foods. And then
Mhm.
I bought the omega-3 versus omega-6 fatty acid book and I started researching more about just nutrition in general and being okay with fats. And
Right.
so just discovering food again, what I liked, and then learning the nutrition about it, and then developing my meal plans around that.
Mhm.
And then freezing a lot of foods. And I don't eat with my family most of the time. I mean, I have a husband and two boys. My boys are in high school. They play football. They eat a lot. We have crap in the house all the time. And we have everything in the house, right? So those cravings are hard. I've put notes in the cabinet that say, "Are you hungry?
Yeah.
Do you need to eat this right now? Like, will you be hurting if you don't eat this?" But
Mhm.
it's really facing like, am I biologically hungry right now? Do I really need to eat this? What am I doing today to need this nutrition? And so really focusing on why I'm eating the food and then planning accordingly. And then the big hardest part, managing the daily emotions around it.
Mhm.
And not going to I'm the night eater. It's like, I do really well during the day, and then it's like, if things were rough or you get angry about an issue or upset or sad or bored or whatever it is, it's like that's where I turn to food. So it's
Mhm.
that trigger is still very hard to like stop and be like, turn that thought back, like redirect those thoughts. So listening to you and trying to redirect those thoughts to recreate the emotions, to prevent eating the foods to satisfy the couple minutes of happiness that you want.
Right.
That's the real gist of it. And so
Mhm.
just really working on myself, and going down that route of, self-talk and good, not hating yourself if something goes wrong.
Right. Right.
Getting back
Right.
on it, I mean, that's really, really, really what helped. And so, and then just, getting back into the exercise and all that and listening to all your speakers about all the little things, all the things. I love that saying, all the things, right? Um, and I've enjoyed the hormone discussions because I'll share with everyone. I had a full hysterectomy at 42, and so I kind of got forced into menopause very early, like immediately, and I went cold turkey, no hormone replacements. And
Mhm.
so kind of discovering that side of everything as well. So listening to your newer podcasts about, how to just overall health and adding on to the nutrition is something that I'm learning more about now as well.
Mhm.
Hair loss, something I feel like women do not ever talk about.
Right.
But
Yeah.
as far as the eating and just feeling better, it was just really focusing on why I'm eating and trying to prevent the emotional eating by using, the tools that you gave us with the more the thought control for me was really where I needed to focus for myself. I've always enjoyed healthy foods. But I would catch myself going through the drive-throughs,
Hmm.
going through I connected a lot with the women who were like, I'd go through the drive-through on the way home and eat the food in the car before I got home and then hide the trash. I mean, and to hear other people, it really, really helped me understand that, it's not just me.
Right, right, exactly.
So,
And I think, you said so many important things, but I think the 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 thing that I'm always trying to focus on, and I think one of the things that kind of helps me kind of stand out from the crowd when it comes to who people that are online that are helping people lose weight is the fact that I I I don't believe that weight gain is a it's not about food. It's about what's behind it. And the food is just the
yeah.
conduit that got you there. It's just the vehicle that you got into to get you to the
Mhm.
place that you really didn't want to be. And so it's figuring out why that is. And to be totally honest, most people, I mean, there are people that I have talked to about working together, or they talk about losing weight. And honestly, I can't work with people who are not willing to look at what they're thinking and to look beyond, like, I just want to control food. There are so many people who are just like, let me just control food, or let me just exercise and I'll be good. Then I can handle that. But you're
Mhm.
going to ask me to like start talking about my feelings. Oh no, that's not acceptable. And
Mhm.
so it's really, it's hard. I mean, it's not easy. It's scary because I can't even tell you how, especially since I've started doing hypnosis, how many times I've heard someone say, I really want to do this, but I'm almost afraid of what I'm going to find.
Yep.
And I don't think I can handle it. And, my response to that is it's totally valid and I totally understand, but then you're letting that thing control your life, and it's going to be there no matter what, because you
Yeah.
can think that you can try to ignore it, but your body doesn't let you ignore it.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. You're going to have to uncover it, and you're going to have to figure it out before it ever's going to go anywhere. And that's hard. I understand that. I mean, I went to therapy a number of times, and had to talk about my father, and talk about my relationship with him, and the dynamics within my family. And I felt so like I was just betraying my family by talking about that kind of stuff. But I
Mhm.
knew that, and I remember my mom just saying, but all of it's true. Like what you were saying was the truth. And your father and I didn't know any better. And we raised you the best way we could. And we didn't know we were sending you those messages. We didn't know that was why,
Mhm.
that it ended up being this way. Um, so I always tell people I totally understand and I get it, and it is scary. And so everybody has to come to it in their own time. And it sounds like you were at that place where you were ready
Mhm.
and you were completely open and willing. And I love the I love the fact that you felt part of the community even though you weren't a part of the community, and that you still felt connected with what was happening, on the podcast, and felt connected to, my community, which is wonderful. I mean, that's just like that makes me so happy, because that's always what I would hope, that people would feel a connection with me, and in turn then a connection with the community as well. So I
Yeah, well, I mean, you do an amazing job of that. I really bringing everybody in and making them feel connected. It really it was a lifesaver for me. It was amazing because it'll be 2 years February when I started listening. And that year, I started February, March, April that year. I had kind of three, I won't say tragedies, but so three big issues that happened outside of my control. An animal death. My dog died.
Oh,
You
wow.
know,
No, that's
so
hard.
tragedies.
Right.
Family dog. The boy. My mom had a stroke and went to memory care,
Mm,
and we had a family member die. And I was like, I don't think I would have made it through that April if I didn't have your podcast.
right.
Because I had already been on the trail of food is not my savior.
Hmm.
Like I can't go to food. And that month, I who knows how much I would have eaten
Right.
if I were trying to deal with all of that emotion and feelings and stress by turning to food to just get past it. And so I think really the idea is you just food isn't the answer. You're right. Food is not, and it's not the problem either. It's
Right.
not the type of foods, right? It's
Right. Yeah,
it's
no,
the why are you eating it? You can eat as much healthy food as you want, but you can overeat it and you're still going to gain
absolutely.
weight. It doesn't matter what you're overeating. It's the overeating and why the overeating is occurring.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Stopping when you're satisfied and not and just being like, this is great. And if I really enjoyed it, I can eat it tomorrow, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So yeah, it's been amazing. And so no, I appreciate it. And I've shared the podcast with people that have asked because they saw the dramatic change. And of course, I got asked by many people, did you do the shot? Did you do the
Yeah.
thing? Right? Because I had started this like apparently right when that became kind of
Right.
more known, right?
Sure. Hmm.
So a lot of people didn't see me for a few months, saw the dramatic changes, and I would get asked that question. I'd be like, no, but do you want to hear my story? I'd be happy to share with you and share the podcast, share the book that I read, the intuitive eating book. And yeah, I mean, hopefully it's helped some other people too. But yeah, it's
Right.
been incredible. And yeah, I hope you keep with it. And yeah, I'll continue to re-listen to those podcasts, because it's so helpful. But it's that next step, the subconscious and the really getting to the root of
Hmm.
why that
Hmm.
that I think is challenging for most people. And you're right, they have to be in the right time in their life to face it and to
Right.
address it.
Right.
And it's a life, that's the lifelong journey right there.
Hmm. Hmm. And that's something I really try to, because I remember I used to think, and I used to actually even say this when I was starting my business, like I want people to never have to think, to never have to, think about food, to never have food be a part of their, not a part of their life, but never have food dominate their life. And I still want food not to dominate a person's life. But also know in my own recovery that it is always something I have to be aware of. I always have to be aware, not necessarily of food, but of my very deep connection with food and making sure that I'm doing the maintenance and the things that I need to do on a daily basis. Remembering to be grateful, remembering to, do a little bit of journaling, remember to stop myself when I have that hair trigger response of somebody says something and I want to immediately go from zero to howler monkey and be all and be up in their face and then go and eat everything that I can eat, and realizing that's a practice, and it's something that we have to create and make it a habit in our lives, and that I've come to accept that I will always have to be cognitively aware of how I interact with food, and I'm okay with that now. Whereas before I was like, oh, I just wanted this to be done. And I remember having a therapist, and I remember going into the office the day after having a binge, and me saying like, I don't understand, like, when is this ever going to stop? And like, yeah, I said, when is this ever going to stop? When am I ever going to stop having these horrible feelings and thoughts and feelings about myself? Or when am I going to keep doing these things that I just am sabotaging myself all the time? And she said, you're not gonna stop, because that's just a part of who you are. And it's like you're trying so hard to get rid of this thing that you say is ruining your life. But in the reality of it, like, you really need to embrace it and realize that it's your reactions to what's happening, that these things are going to come up, and you're going to have these opportunities to practice this, and you get to decide, do you want to practice it, or do you just want to fall into the same routine of doing the same reactions over and over and over. And when I realized that I had the choice to make, that it was like, I can decide how I want to respond, and how I want to either accept it or not accept it. And for me, accepting it and realizing that it wasn't something that God did to me. He did it for me. And it was I was supposed to be here. This is what was supposed to happen in my life. And I'm supposed to be sitting here interviewing you and doing all of this, because this is why I was put here. I was put here to help people with this. And this is just what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And so and there have been times that I've questioned that. And I will always have your email somewhere around my house, so I can always refer back to it, because it just reminds me that, yeah, that what I have discovered, and how I've changed my life, that other people can do that. other people can do that, and they can do that on their own. And that's the part that also is so exciting for me, is that for some people it is something that they do need support. They do need either to be in a group, they do need to work with me one-on-one. But yeah, I love the fact that you have been able to take what you took what you learned, and then that kind of spurred you to go on and discover other aspects of it and do your own research and things like that, and you were able to almost kind of be your own coach and your own support system. And I think that's
Yeah. I think there's a huge benefit to being a part of the community and the group.
Mhm.
And if I were closer to you guys or part of it, I would join
Mhm.
for sure because I do like sharing that. I think that's very important.
Mhm.
Yeah, my personality, I was able to take it and run with it
Yeah.
and make it work. But I think that community and that group is extremely important for people. And that's where I'm learning in the maintenance stage. Okay, how
Mhm.
am I going to maintain this now, right?
Right.
You talk about it, the original part being similar to a diet. It's exciting, it's new, it's working,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
What happens when that newness is over?
Right.
And so that's where it's like, okay, you need to keep talking about it. You need to keep addressing it. And so yeah, I think it's a wonderful that I just again, thank you so much because you've shared so much information, so many people, and just so much on those podcasts that honestly, it changed my life. It has made my life 1,000 times better, and I will always have it to fall back on.
Right.
So it's been amazing. It really has. And I continue to listen and learn, I continue to learn from you and
Mhm.
continue to review all of the stuff that you have. It's really incredible.
Wonderful. That's so good to hear. If you don't mind, could I ask you? I could ask you, and I think this would be helpful for people who are listening. What aspects of maintenance are you struggling with?
Um, just the falling back on the binge every once in a while.
Mm.
It's really just like, and it's catching that reason and going to it and being like, okay, yeah, I know why I'm going to the cupboard right now, but I don't care. And
Yeah.
it's just it's that's basically it. That's like the trigger. And it's just training my brain to not do that. Now I have the tools that you've given me the next day to
Mhm.
not continue down that spiral,
Right.
right? That's now where I'm realizing, man, that's the savior. It's like I'm not going to gain 20 pounds before I get back on to
Right. Oh,
you know,
exactly. Yeah.
it's and that can happen so quick. I mean,
Hmm.
when you do what's considered, what we all probably consider binging, and
Hmm.
probably don't even want to admit to ourselves how many calories we can consume in a
Right.
binge. That it's yeah, it's getting back from that quickly and getting back on track and not hating myself the next day and not and giving myself that positive talk and being like you're not perfect. It's not about perfectionism.
Right.
It's about maintenance and it's you're gonna mess up and it's okay, but it's about not messing up too much.
Right, exactly.
You
And I
know?
think that's the key to, and I think that really is the key to maintenance, is understanding it, and they all go hand in hand, because you can't bounce back if you're constantly belittling yourself and berating yourself, because that is what is that cycle of just continuing to, we feel bad, we eat, we feel bad again, so we eat some more, and it's just this I
Mhm.
call it the triangle of doom, and it's just that's where that's we get caught in that, and
Yeah.
we get caught in it, and it's 3 weeks later and we're still caught in it, but we're 15 pounds heavier. And
Yeah.
it's always been one of my, and I don't even know where I picked this up from, but this is like this has been for almost all my life, that I really never, when oh no, I shouldn't say all my life. I definitely didn't do this in high school, but as an adult, it was usually a a binge would be isolated, because I knew, I was like, you got to get back on. There was something that told me, like, you can't let this go, because if you let this
Hmm.
go, it's going to get completely out of control. And but I didn't. But I I stopped it, but I was stopping it with the beat down and the negative self-talk. And so yes, it was stopping it, but I felt so horrible in the process. And again, that just infiltrated so many aspects of my life. And really, I feel like most of the things that I do are it they're really not, I mean, they are about losing weight, but they're really about, like, understanding who you are, and
Hmm.
understanding um where we look for happiness. Because I know,
Yeah.
I was looking for happiness for me was food. There wasn't a whole lot of things that made me happy other than food. And so when that was the case, well, of course I'm going to be, thinking about food all the time. Of course I'm going to be, having to, figure out, okay, what's my next meal? Oh, if I can be good for 2 days, then on Saturday, oh, Saturday's the day. That's where everything's going to be amazing. And getting halfway through the day and being like, oh my gosh, I feel so sick. Like, what am I doing? And then just
Mhm.
again that cycle back. Um, so what is on the what is on the future for you in a sense of your kind of your next steps as you move as you kind of and it's been a couple of years, so you're getting coming across your almost 2-year anniversary of this. So what are you really wanting to focus on moving forward?
Well, I mean, I think, I've got the nutrition side of it pretty well down. I do like that side of it. I keep it going that way. I think it's just that, the subconscious, the emotional, like I've got to go down that therapy route probably at some point
Mhm.
for just overall wellness.
Mhm.
So that's where, I think kind of when I emailed you to say thank you, I was just really like realizing that this is something I really have to focus on going forward.
Right.
And exercise. I just want to get stronger. I mean, I've been doing my own, I've got friends that do Pilates and yoga, and I keep telling them 2 years, my boys are juniors, they'll be out of the house, like I'll get my life back. I'll make more time for myself. I do the elliptical in the house. I live in Jackson, Wyoming, so I have all of the outside wilderness has to offer. So
Right.
hiking, walking, like I have an amazing, so my goal really was to get into the point where I could be out, skiing and hiking with people that can do a lot more than I could have done, a year or two ago.
Right.
And
Right.
being able to be physically active for myself, but for my children and everybody else. I was an athlete growing up. I
Right.
played 5 sports in middle school, 3 sports in high school, played in college. So like getting back to who I was and
Mhm.
rediscovering who I was as an athlete is
Mhm.
really, where I want to be.
Right.
I started playing tennis again, but injuries and this and that. So it's just really trying to get back to kind of, I mean, I'm back to like college clothes, back to where I was before I kind of got married and had kids.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Exactly.
They're about to fly the nest. So for me, I'm looking at, an empty nest here coming up in a couple of years
Right.
and, what's next for me and my husband and how am I going to be move on to the next phase in my life and be active and healthy.
Mhm.
But emotional eating is a massive part of that and just understanding how to keep myself healthy is very involved I mean, weight is, we don't weigh ourselves because, I bought my scale, when I started this for data purposes only,
Right.
you
Right. There
know,
you go.
but, and to tracked it and it was great to help with that tracking, but, just, trying to maintain it and spread and talking with people about it too that ask. There's still a lot of people I haven't seen in a couple of years that probably when they see me, they'll be like, what happened,
Right.
and talking to them about it. So spreading the word
Yeah.
and getting more involved in the physical side of things, yoga, Pilates, everything you guys, gosh, what was it? There was one exercise on the more recent podcast you guys were talking about. It was like between a Pilates and something else. I don't know, but I would really like to like really push myself as far as, the physical side of things next.
Right. Right. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's so good. What would you say to someone who's listening right now who is feeling the way you felt 2 years ago? What would be your advice to someone who, is like, well, Allison, for some reason you were able to do it. I just don't think I can do it. What would your
Yeah.
advice be to them?
I mean, honestly, it was shocking to myself. I was shocked to watch the weight just literally drop off. And I won't say it was easy
Hmm.
because it wasn't easy. But honestly, if you just follow the very simple intuitive eating principles, like if you can just do that, and again, it's the willpower, whatever it's not willpower. We talk about what really is it, the thoughts driving the emotions and all of that. But I'd say, pick up the intuitive eating, read about intuitive eating
Hmm.
itself and really just I don't know. I mean, for me, I guess it has to be the right time. If you're listening, then you're ready.
Right.
And so if you can just try to listen to your body and try to understand what makes your body take a break and take a pause and really listen to when you're hungry and when you're not, and then figure out what foods make you feel good and not. Because once you start like I mean, my calories probably, I probably went to like a third of the calories I was eating.
Right.
And I didn't need it. Like I was not hungry. I really wasn't hungry. And so I think focusing on actual physical hunger and realizing that you should only be feeding your body for energy.
Right.
That's why we feed our body. And if you can, it's really, really hard, but if you can stick with it and separate the emotional eating with the biological hunger, that's what I was able to do. And I have all of the I mean, I again with the kids in high school, like there's all the foods around me. So it's like
Right.
there's a box of Twinkies downstairs right now. I mean, it's like it's always there. It's so not, when I'm packing lunches at 9 o'clock at night and I may be, I'm like literally like what you say, no snacking. That's a
Mhm.
huge one, huge. Like literally don't even lick the spoon when you're, making someone else something to eat. Like
Right.
just no calories in between
Mhm.
meals. Allowing yourself to be hungry. It's okay to feel hungry. That was a
Mhm.
huge one for me. Like if I feel a little like lightheaded, maybe I need some food. Like I do, I go to my water. And again, this is if you're trying to lose weight, right? If you're trying to maintain, maybe you need to eat, but go to the water until it's your next meal time.
Mhm.
And eat what you want. Like it's okay to eat what you want, but
Mhm.
stop as soon as you like eat half of the plate,
Mhm.
and stop and drink some water and really be okay pushing the rest of the food away. Be okay throwing food away. For all of you who had to clean your plates growing up, lived on budgets, my grandma in the depression, right? She used to yell at me, not yell at me. It felt like yelling. It was probably just a mean look, right? But you know how it is. It feels like yelling. If I
Right.
cut the cantaloupe too far away from the rind, right? If I
Oh
left too
yeah.
much
Oh.
cantaloupe on the rind, right? So we all kind of grew up so with some of that on the back of our back of us. So if be okay throwing food away. Just think, you feel like you're wasting money, but it's even more of a waste to put it in your body.
Right. Right.
If you don't need it, you're then having to spend probably more money to take that weight off at some point in some
Right.
way,
Right.
whether it's
Oh,
an emotional cost or a financial cost.
yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so to be honest, it was just all of those principles. I just
Mhm.
really focused on them, and I literally listened to your podcasts like two or three at a time while I'd walk every day. And I just
Mhm.
really every time something came up where I was like, okay, I need to get back on it, or I'm feeling really bad about myself today because I went overboard last night with something, and it was a true binge. It wasn't just like I ate a little too much of what I was
Right.
eating. It was like a true binge where like out of control, mindless eating, and just re-listening to the podcast that applied to that, and being like, you're okay. Just every day is a new day.
Right.
Every choice is a new choice.
Right.
So all of those things, all
Good.
of those things
Good.
were helpful, and if anyone can just stick with the principles that you're teaching, it's gonna happen. It
Right.
really is. The weight is going to come off.
Right. Right. Perfect.
And
Oh,
it
that,
may take a month or two for your body to adjust, and you hit
yeah.
those plateaus like you talk about.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe you need to eat a little bit more. And
Mhm.
and so again, everything you talked about worked for me.
Right. Right. That is so amazing. Well, thank you again so much for again for reaching out, for taking the time today to record this with me, and I know, I mean, y'all, I have my biggest cheerleader right here with me. It's very exciting. But I just again, I can't, I don't think I can adequately explain how much it means to me that you took the time to do that. And then I'm just so thrilled that you're so happy, and that you've that it's really working for you. And I know that I feel very confident in the fact that you will glide through maintenance, and maintenance will become your lifestyle. And that's what your kids will know, that's what your friends will know, and you will end up being exactly where you want to be. So again, thank you so much. I can't begin to say, really appreciate it.
Well, same here. I feel the same. I can't thank you enough. I mean, really, it's been a savior. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Y'all, it's a love fest here. So thank you so much for joining both Allison and I this week. And again, if you have any questions about again, the podcast is here. You're listening to it, so you just go back. Allison, would you recommend just starting back at number one?
Yeah, I mean, go down to number one. I've got it on Spotify because that's what I have. So
Mhm.
I've got basically all my favorites downloaded so I can listen to them anytime, anywhere because I live in
Yeah.
Wyoming and there's a lot of places with no cell service. But
Right.
yeah, I go back and start at one
Yeah.
and kind of go through them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You heard it from her, y'all. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for listening and for being a part of the podcast and being part of this community. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. All my contact information is in the show notes, and would be happy to answer any questions that any of you have. So again, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all next week. Take care.